All right, so greetings. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in the Fed. And today's topic, I will be dealing with the political prisoners and the black organizations. All right. So as you know, August is Black August month, which basically deals with political prisoners and organization they have started. Usually those who have made their transition who passed on and those who are currently serving life in prison and things like that. So, so today's topic I wanted to talk about B.Kwaku Duren and the new Panther Vanguard movement. All right. Uh, to be honest with you, I never heard of the new Panther Vanguard movement, but they came about after the whole riot took place in LA in 1992 with Rodney King and Latasha, I forgot her last name, just like that. But anyways, so when the whole situation took out, the race riots happened in Los Angeles, California. Especially after what happened to Rodney King in '92, that's when the new Panther Vanguard movement came into existence. All right, so the founder was an original Black Panther himself, right, of the LA chapter. So I'm gonna get into that information, and I just want to thank everyone who have been subscribing. Shout out to my new subscriber. Thank you for sharing my videos, checking out the videos. Thank you for the commentaries, etc. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Now, as you can see, let's start with the founder. So the founder's name is B.Kwaku Duren, who was born Robert Donaldson Duren, and he's considered as the controversial African American former lawyer, educator, writer, editor, Black Panther, longtime social, political, and community activist. And he was a former convict. And he now lives and practices law in South Central Los Angeles. All right. So he had ran for United States Congress 3 times and once for Vice President of the United States. As a young man, he spent nearly 5 years in California prisons for armed robbery. He began reading extensively and taking college classes while incarcerated, and after his parole in the fall of 1970, he founded and chaired the National Poor People's Congress. A couple of years later, he and his younger sister Betty Scott, along with Mary Blackburn and other community activists, founded an alternate school, the Intercommunal Youth Institution, which lasted from 1972 to 1975 in Long Beach, California. Okay, so it also goes in and talk about in the wake of the shooting death of his sister by a California Highway Patrol officer during a routine traffic stop. Duren helped found and was a co-chair of the Coalition Against Police Abuse from 1975 to 1977. And from 1976 to 1981, he was the coordinator of the Southern California chapter of the Black Panther Party. From 1979 to 1991, he worked for the Los Angeles Legal Aid Foundation, beginning as a community outreach worker, later as a paralegal and attorney. He was one of the founding members and first president of the Union of Legal Services Workers of Los Angeles. Duren attended law school at the People's College of Law in Los Angeles. He graduated in fall of 1989 and was admitted to the California State Bar on August 8th of 1990. He has worked as a people's lawyer and community activist in South Central Los Angeles ever since. A founding member of the Community Service Unlimited Incorporation, he was its executive director from 1977 to 2008. As a chairman of the New Panther Vanguard movement since 1994, Duren was co-editor-in-chief with his ex-wife, Naleen Sharma, of the Black Panther International News Service, a quarterly newspaper published in Los Angeles from 1995 to 2001. All right, so here's his early life. And then we're going to talk about how he joined the Black Panther Party, Then we're going to get into the organization in itself. So he was born in Beckley, West Virginia, the hometown of his father, William Preston Brack Duren, and his mother, Willie Wade Burnett. Duren is the only son in a family of four children. His father was worked as a miner and a prize fighter and a steel mill worker. So during the Second World War, when Duren was an infant, his parents moved to Cleveland, Ohio. They lived in various places around Cleveland until settling into some new housing projects. His mother was a housewife for many years, but also worked as a housekeeper and seamstress. When Brack Duren had his hand severely mauled in an industrial accident at Midland Steel, he lost 2.5 fingers on his right hand, and the company dismissed him with a tiny settlement. So Willie Duren was forced to seek work cleaning the houses of whites to help support her family. And so in 59, Duren's mother relocated from Cleveland to Long Beach, California. Her husband followed his family to Long Beach shortly thereafter. In 1960, Brack Duren was arrested in a house raid by the FBI and charged with committing armed robberies of illegal gambling joints in Cleveland, which he had done after being injured and unable to find work. He was extradited to Ohio, where he served many years in Chillicothe Correctional Institution before becoming a jailhouse lawyer, doing research on his own case with the help of his eldest daughter, Joyce, appealing and ultimately winning his release on a technicality. He rejoined and remarried his wife after his release from prison and lived the remainder of his life in Long Beach. Then it goes down to talk about at the age of 17 years, at the age of 17, B.Kwaku Duren was arrested for breaking and entering into a television shop. He served 6 months in LA County Jail facility before being placed on probation. Following his release, he worked in a pool hall in Long Beach, sold drugs, and with a partner committed a series of convenience store holdups over several years. His spring of 1966, he was in the spring of 1966, he was arrested for sticking up a cab driver, convicted and sentenced to 5 years to life. He spent 4.5 years in Chino and Soledad prison. In a bit of irony, he worked as a cab driver while putting himself through law school. So during his 3.5 years in Soledad, a black counselor introduced Duren to the writings of the African-American historian and sociologist W.E.B. Du Bois, especially The World in Africa. Even before his slide into criminality, Duren had been a voracious reader. He thus began an intensive study of African-American history while in prison, reading books such as the autobiography of Malcolm X. He also devoured works by writers such as J.A. Rogers, Eric Fromm, Frederick Engels, Karl Marx, and Vladimir Lenin. He ordered these books through the California State Library and the UNESCO's library. One particular area that he devoted himself to was the history of slavery and its effects on and reverberation in contemporary life. In addition to his autodidactic pursuits, Duren enrolled in and completed classes in economics, sociology, psychology, as well as astronomy at San Francisco State University. He was paroled in September 1970 at the age of 27. And that was amazing. So he took the time out while he was incarcerated to study various fields of subjects. And he was paroled at the age of 27. And see, that's what I mean. That's a benefit of being an autodidact. Just taking the initiative and having the drive to learn new subjects that you never heard of. So going further down, Let's talk about his years as being a Black Panther, right? So in the summer of 1976, Duren first enrolled in the People's College of Law in Los Angeles. Concurrently, he and some other Black activists formed a political study group. He and these activists went to Oakland and met with Elaine Brown, chairwoman of the Black Panther Party, to discuss reforming the party in LA. In October, nearly a year after his sister's killing and after meeting with members of the Central Committee of the party, Duren officially joined the Black Panther Party. In January 1977, while LAPD helicopters circled overhead, Duren inaugurated the new office of the Southern California chapter of the Black Panther Party on Central Avenue in South Central. He believed that the party had the potential for the raising consciousness of Black youth and others in the continuing struggle for people's power. And it says in the summer of the same year, Huey Newton, who had co-founded the party in 1966 with Bobby Seale, returned from political exile in Cuba. Late in 1977, Elaine Brown quit the Black Panther Party as a result of a conflict with Newton, whose behavior had become increasingly erratic, perhaps due to a power struggle exacerbated by Newton's cocaine use. So nonetheless, Duren continued to work with the party, reorganizing the Southern California chapter, growing its membership and carrying out its community involvement agenda. However, his strong stand against the use and trafficking of cocaine by party members apparently put him in conflict with Newton and other members of the Black Panther leadership. So the reestablishment of the SCC under Duren's coordinator status was always small in members' numbers. Duren kept it this way because he felt that many prospective applicants were drawn to the party more for its public and symbolic role rather than for the serious political agenda that the Black Panther Party promulgated. Still, the chapter thrived organizing its survival programs. These included martial arts training for youth and adults, a tutorial liberation school program for youth, and a senior against a fearful environment escort program. So it goes on to talk about David Bryant, African American, who was an LAPD officer under orders of the then police chief Daryl Gates, illegally infiltrated the SCC. This domestic spying case became part of the larger civil rights lawsuit entitled Kappa versus Gates against the LAPD and was settled in 1983. So in the early 1982, the Oakland Black Panther Party leadership decided to disband. Wait a minute. Let me try that again. In the early 1982, the Oakland BBP leadership decided to disband the Black Panther Party, and the leadership of the reorganized SCC collectively decided to cease Operation Kappa versus Gates, etc. lawsuit from. All right, so also now we can go into the new African American Vanguard. All right, but if you guys want to look up more information regarding to the founder, here's a book that you can check out. And this book right here is called The Black Panthers: Portraits from Unfinished Evolution, edited by Brian Sheep and Yehuda Williams. And so there's a piece in this book and let me just go up. Let me scroll up right here. So I think this is the picture of him. Okay. So here's a session B.Kwaku Duren. So under he said, my understanding of the role of the Black Panther Party is probably quite different than that of a lot of folks who joined it emotionally. I joined it intellectually. I felt it was needed to build something that could effectively bring fundamental changes to America and to the world. We still need a Panther-like organization, and people must understand that the Black Panther Party considered itself a vanguard of the revolution in America. There was going to be a revolution, and we thought that Black people had to be in leadership. That's reflected in a lot of my organizing. In the initial period of reorganizing, we engaged the entire community, not just the Black community, but the Mexican community, the white leftist community, the gay and lesbian community. It was an effort to get different kinds of perspective by reaching out and forming alliances and coalition. And he also mentioned the party history and perspective gave it the ability to do that. The party was based in the Black community, but it was not a nationalist organization. The party developed its own theory called the intercommunalism. When the party said all power to the people, it really meant that not just to Black people, but the people as a whole, as opposed to the power system. The system tried to and still does to a certain extent pit these communities against each other. You still have less so now than during the 1960s and 1970s. Competition between the people from Mexico and South and Central America coming to the United States intending to get jobs. The system encouraged distrust and miscommunication between groups. It's a divide and conquer kind of strategy. All right, so here's pictures. And that's a picture of Fred Hampton. All right. And again, this book can be looked. You can check this book out at the this website called archive.org. All right. And so there's more information that comes from the accounts of former members of the Black Panther Party. So it's called The Black Panthers, Portraits from Unfinished Evolution, edited by Brian Sheath and Yehuda Williams. Right. So now I shall return back to the article. So now let's go back to the article. Let's go back to what is the New Panther Vanguard movement. So why did it come into existence? What was the purpose? Okay. Hold on. All right, just so here's the information about the New Panther Vanguard movement. So the New Panther Vanguard movement was originally known as the African American Vanguard movement, and it was created in South Central Los Angeles in 1994 as a response to the Los Angeles riot in 1992. So former members of the Black Panther Party and other community activists came together at the riots and shared their frustration with the lack of leadership in the Black community. After various dialogues, they decided to create a grassroots organization that would reflect the vision and community spirit of the Black Panther Party. And of course, the founder was B.Kwaku Duren, Sharif Abdullah, Charles Boko Freeman. All right, so it lasted from October the 15th, 1994 and dissolved around 2002. Okay. So it goes into the background. In 1989, Huey P. Newton, one of the founder of the Black Panther Party, was murdered. His death led to renewed interest in the Black Panther Party and sparked a discussion about the legacy of the party. This was particularly true in California, as the birthplace of the party had been in Oakland, and cities such as Oakland and Los Angeles had been key strongholds for the party during its existence. In the early 1990s, racial tension in America and particularly in California were running especially high. So events in 1992, such as the death of Latasha Harlins and the Rodney King beating, had put California's racial divide firmly in the spotlight and directly contributed to the Los Angeles riots of 1992. So later the same year, Spike Lee's biopic of Malcolm X was released, also contributing to a discussion around race in America and the role of African Americans in American society at the time. Further compounding racial tension in this period were the murders of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman and the subsequent trial of O.J. Simpson, which began in the mid 1994. So it said, emerging out of this came the new African American Vanguard movement, formed in October the 15th, 1994 in South Central Los Angeles. The organization was founded by local Black community organizers, including a number of former LA chapter members. So as you can see, B.Kwaku, Duren, the group directly cited 1992 riots. All right. So the group drew direct inspiration from the Black Panther Party. And also it says, 1960 mirror of its aspect, adopting militant attire, creating their own version of the Black Panther Party's 10-point program, and producing their own version of the Black Panther newspaper. So in 1996, the organization had adopted intercommunalism as their ideology, the communist theory formulated by Huey P. Newton, and were campaigning for the payment of reparation to African Americans. Following a summit with members of the new Black Panther Party on April 19th of 1997, the new African American Vanguard movement agreed to formally change their name to the new Panther Vanguard movement. The two groups endeavored to build towards a national Black Panther movement by working with other Panther-like groups and sought to become more uniform in their practices and ideology. So both groups sought to meet with another Panther-like group operating in Milwaukee calling themselves the Black Panther Militia. However, that group expressed no interest at the time, although they did in fact merge into the new Black Panther Party in 1998. Instead, the two Panthers group turned towards New York City, where the Black Panther Collective was operating. A formal meeting was held, but attempts to bring them into the coalition never came to fruition, as the New York group collapsed and dissolved with 6 months of the original meeting. All right. And it says the new Vanguard movement was folded in 2002 after a suspicious fire broke out in their main headquarters in Los Angeles and destroyed their office. Internal disputes are also cited as leading to their demise. Okay, so just giving a summary, basically the Vanguard was created as a response to the racial riots and the police brutality that was taking place in Los Angeles, California. Latasha Harlin was killed by a Korean woman, and Rodney King was beaten by the police, and it was caught on tape. So it was broadcast live, and that what sparked up the big riot. Okay. But there's always going to be the internal conflicts as well. There's going to always be some form of disagreement where one group of people may feel like another group is not on the same page. So you have a situation where there's going to be differences. Differences as in, excuse me. All right, so there's always going to be differences that's taking place amongst groups of people regarding to a difference of beliefs, and how there's one may think this organization should go in one direction, and others say no, it should go this direction. So from there, you have multiple branches coming out of those groups. So from the original branches, you may have different branches, and then you may have people that might leave and start their own branches, and it usually happens. So it couldn't last very long. I mean, there was a fire taking place, and there was some growing tension going on. So they disbanded. From 1994 to 2002, they lasted for about a good 8 years, but they just went their separate ways. They went their separate ways, and they decided to do whatever they wanted to do. All right. And there's still conflict to this day regarding to the new Black Panther Party. Um, there was a situation was going on where one of the members from the new Black Panther Party attacked one of the original Black Panthers member in Atlanta. Why? I don't even know. I don't know the whole story. I don't even know why they did it. But it goes to show you there's the battle of the egos. It's more about the aggrandizement of the individuals themselves, and not the organization and the purpose and how it served the people. But anyways, that's all I have. That's all the information I have available. And again, I want to thank those who have been subscribed to my channel, checking out my channels, watching my videos, etc. So make sure you guys support the channel and check out all the other videos and all the other stuff I've done on here. So with that being said, peace and power, elevation be to all of you. And I hope you guys have a good one. Please be safe and be careful. All right. And I will come back later on. So that's it.